Ashtavakra Gita, Chapter 1, Verse 8. You have been bitten by the deadly black serpent of the ego, and you therefore consider yourself as the doer. Drink the nectar of the faith that you are not the doer and be happy. The sage is saying you have been bitten by the deadly black serpent of the ego. He's saying this because doership is like an attack. It's like being attacked by a serpent, being bitten by a serpent. And it's very poisonous. Let's understand why the sage is saying this. We would have experienced this in our lives. When you are very angry, there might be times where you might have thought that something has gotten into me. Why did I behave like this? I'm not at all this. It is so alien. Right? The sage is saying, if it's not you, then why are you getting identified with it? Like the sage said in the previous verses, do not accompany the false. Inquire. Let's take another example. Say we have a friend who is a thief, who is crazy thief. So when we accompany them, what would happen? Say we go to a store with them and the friend breaks the things over there. So if you get identified as a friend, then it's not easy that okay, he breaks, he goes, or she breaks, he goes. No, it's not so easy, right? Like we might have had those kind of days. You will also have to pay the price. It's the same context with which the sage is saying. Like, do not accompany the false. If you are accompanying the false, then you will also have to pay the price. See, who is that friend within you? Whom are you accompanying? I am not the doer. Have faith in this and be happy. When sage is using these words, so we need to see in depth. We need to see in depth where the sage is pointing us to. He is pointing us to the highest of the highest. So similarly, we need to see that means what does these words mean to us? What does happy mean to me? Here when the sage says happy, he meant immense joy. And when he says faith, he means awareness of the self. You are not the doer. Let the doer be whoever it is, but you are not the doer. And this awareness is possible with truthful inquiry. We have seen the sage was saying in the previous verses that you are not related with any happenings in this world. We saw many examples and the context with which the sage was saying this, right? However, you still are identified with something which needs to claim and take the credit for doing. From where did it come from? Let us check this. From where did this come from? Let's inquire on this. The sage said in verse 4 of chapter 1 to not get identified with the body. Let the nature work according to its own way. Like sunlight falling on an object has nothing to do with you. Similarly, the mind acts in a certain way. Let it act as per the nature. But from where this me is coming into picture? This ego me who is claiming that I have done it. See how the sage is helping us to get out of this maze very beautifully. The mind says that I have done it. I have to take the credit for it. And also, on the contrary, there is a possibility that the mind says, because of me, something has happened. I am the cause of all this. This shouldn't have happened. Blah, blah, blah. All the stories. The sage is saying, both are ego. None of it is you. So this I am the doer, this ego is what the sage is saying has bitten you. To whom has it bitten? To the same doer, right? And this is like poison. The remedy for this poison is to free this ego from the object which is being identified with. Like why the sage is saying that to whom has it bitten, then it is to the same doer. Let's see. It is true, right? Like who will be going through the suffering? Like we know this ego I is just in the mind, right? Can we locate it in our body? Is there a place where I can say that this is the ego I? No. But if you see the suffering that this ego I goes through, that is in abundance, right? The body is not actually demanding anything, and it's dancing in its own rhythm. This ego is something who wants to meddle in between and take credit. The sage is saying, my dear child, please detach from the loop of this doership and enjoying. Please detach from this loop of doer and enjoyer. Get free. This is not for me. I am complete within. I am neither related to anything or anyone, nor dependent on anything or anyone. I am free and complete. This is the nectar, what the sage is talking about, with which you will be joyful and happy from the snake bite of doership. This doesn't mean that don't do anything. Like, the mind might say that, okay, then there's not necessary to do anything. The sage said that. Get rid of this doer, right? See, when sage, if you see this, like, sage is also doing something. No, like if he is not saying, how do we get to know? Right? When he says, get rid of this doership, get rid of any of the doing which is feeding your ego. So he's saying that to remove the false, then whatever remains is you. Remove all the false, and there remains only one. In fact, he is saying you are not so small. Don't identify with these tiny materials. Wake up, my dear ones. You are not so weak. You are complete.